Hello guys, it's Scripted Fear again. And tonight, I'm taking you into the kinds of nights you don't forget. Nights where the wrong set of headlights behind you can turn an empty highway into a trap. Where a stranger's car slows down just enough for you to realize you're not imagining it, you're being followed. You'll hear about running out of gas on a dead stretch of road, and the one vehicle that appears isn't there to help. You'll hear about pulling into a motel for safety, only to have a man fix his eyes on you and keep them there for the next 10 hours straight, waiting for the perfect place to corner you. And you'll hear about stopping to rest in the dark, thinking you're alone, until the sound of breaking glass pulls you into a nightmare you can't wake up from. Every story you're about to hear really happened. Every second is as it was told. And in each one, there's that moment when you realize you're no longer just living your night. You're trying to survive it. Let's get into it. Carter and I were driving through the night, 15 hours on the road to meet some old friends from college, switching off every few hours so one of us could rest while the other drove. I started out, then 4 hours in Carter took over. But no matter how badly I needed sleep, I couldn't settle. My body was tired, but my mind kept flickering awake. The hum of the tires, the low rumble of the engine, every shadow outside the window keeping me wired. By the time it was my turn again, I was running on fumes myself, gripping the wheel hard, feeling my eyelids drag, and somehow never once looking at the gas gauge until the engine coughed, sputtered, and began choking out like it couldn't breathe. Carter lurched awake, grabbing for his phone, telling me through a haze that the nearest station was 4 miles away. But the car was barely crawling before it, just gave up entirely, and we rolled to a dead stop on the side of an empty highway surrounded by endless black fields. No wind, no lights, no other cars, just this heavy silence pressing in on us. We talked it over for less than a minute before. Carter decided he'd walk it, said it'd be faster than waiting for help. I watched him step into the dark, phone in one hand, shoulders hunched, and in less than a minute he was swallowed by the road and gone. I sat in the driver's seat, every second stretching longer, staring out at the faint shimmer of the horizon, thinking only about how stupid I'd been to let the tank run dry. And that's when a pair of headlights appeared far up ahead. They came slow, way too slow, rolling toward me at maybe 15 miles an hour when the speed limit had to be 60. They passed, but didn't accelerate. And in my side mirror, I saw their brake lights flare before the car slowed even more, then swung into a slow, deliberate 3-point turn. My chest tightened. They came back down my side of the road, slower this time, 5 miles an hour at most, moving past the car like they were peering straight through my windows, their faces hidden in shadow. Then they sped off the same way they'd come, and the dark closed back in. I pulled out my phone and called Carter, just to tell him to hurry, but it rang all the way through. I tried again, pressing the phone harder against my ear, my pulse pounding, but nothing. Maybe his phone was on silent. Maybe he lost service. Or maybe I didn't even want to finish the thought. I shoved the phone in my pocket, locked the car, and stepped into the night, jogging fast along the shoulder, the gravel crunching under my feet, the only sound for miles. Every few seconds I glanced over my shoulder, convinced I'd see those headlights again, the black stretching endlessly on either side. The silence was so total, it made my own breath sound too loud. After about 15 minutes, I should have seen him, but the road ahead was empty. I slowed, pulled my phone back out, called again, and that's when I heard it. Not in my ear, out there, somewhere in the grass to my right. Faint, tinny, just barely there, the ringtone. I turned, squinting into the dark until I saw it. a dim glow on the ground, Carter's phone lying in the weeds. My gut clenched. I took a step toward it, calling his name, and from somewhere farther out his voice hissed back at me, urgent, telling me to get down. I dropped instantly, crawling into the grass, my heart slamming against the dirt. And a moment later, I saw them. Those same headlights rolling toward us again at a crawl, their beams sweeping the roadside like they were searching. They passed, turned around, passed again, 3, 4 times, each time slowing even more before finally speeding away into the black. My hands were shaking as Carter emerged from the grass, face pale, breathing hard. He told me the man had pulled over, tried to coax him into his car, then got out when Carter refused, stepping toward him with something in his hand. Carter didn't wait, he ran, dove into the grass, and stayed hidden as the man got back in his car and began combing the road for him. His phone must have slipped from his pocket when he hit the ground, and he didn't dare move to get it. We didn't walk to the gas station. We ran the rest of the way, lungs burning, never looking back until the lights of the station came into view. We called the police, gave them the make, the model, everything, but they never found him. Even now, when I close my eyes, I can see those headlights creeping by, slow and deliberate, knowing they weren't passing through. They were hunting. I almost never took road trips back then, but when my family planned a surprise 50th birthday for my dad, I had no excuse not to go. I just left my job. Gas was dirt cheap compared to flying, so I made it a 3-day drive. The first day was long but easy, and by nightfall, I pulled into a roadside motel, the kind with faded paint, flickering signs, and a smell of mildew in the hallways. I didn't care. I just needed a bed. I woke late, sunlight pouring through thin curtains, took a quick shower, and packed my bag. I swung the door open and froze. A man was standing in the doorway, mid-40s maybe, face-worn and sleepless, deep purple bags under his eyes, skin pale with that faint clamminess like he hadn't been outside much. He didn't smile, didn't move, didn't even blink for a moment, just stared like he was trying to memorize my face. I muttered, "Excuse me," and slid past him, feeling his shoulder graze mine as I went. I thought that was it, but as I hauled my things into the car, I felt it again, that weight of someone's eyes. He was still there, outside my room, just standing, tracking me with his head as I moved. I avoided looking directly at him, but I could feel the tension in the air, the way his stare followed me all the way into the driver's seat. I got on the road and tried to shake it off. The first few hours passed through small towns, gas stations, and traffic lights, the kind of driving where your attention stays split between road signs and speed limits. But the further I went, the thinner the towns became, until it was just long ribbons of 2-lane road through open land. When my gas gauge dipped, I took the next station I saw. I filled up, went inside for coffee, came back out and stopped. A deep red, faded, beat-up Corolla was parked so close to my bumper that from the front, it looked like it was touching. No one was at the pump. The windshield was tinted black. I couldn't see a single thing inside, but I knew someone was in there. I kept my eyes down, disconnected the nozzle, slid into the driver's seat, and drove away without glancing back. But as soon as I merged onto the highway, the Corolla pulled out too. At first, it kept a polite distance, 5 or 6 cars back. But as the miles wore on and traffic thinned, I noticed them more often still there, still in the same lane, never passing, never falling too far behind. The sun set. The highway emptied. I stopped checking my mirrors because every time I looked, I'd see that pair of headlights and my stomach would not. Hours passed. At some point, I convinced myself it had to be a coincidence. They were probably just headed the same way. Around midnight, I decided I could make it to the next big city 2 hours away. My coffee was long gone, and my eyelids were heavy enough that I started thinking about pulling over just to get another cup. The next exit had a small standalone gas station, lit but empty, the store dark and closed. I sighed, deciding to top off anyway. I just set the pump when I saw headlights coming fast down the exit ramp. The moment they hit the lot, my pulse shot through me, the same deep red Corolla. They didn't slow for the pumps, didn't pull into a space, just veered sharply and stopped nose to nose with my driver's side. The doors were still locked when the passenger side flew open and a man stepped out. My stomach clenched. It was the man from the motel doorway, same deep-set eyes, same heavy, sleepless face, but now with this half-smile curling like he'd been waiting for this moment. He didn't say a word, just came straight for my door and yanked the handle. When it didn't open, he paused, looked right at me, and the smile widened into something that didn't even look human anymore, too stretched, too still, like his face was straining to hold it. I shoved the nozzle back, turned the key, and peeled out so fast my tires screamed against the concrete. In my mirror, I caught a glimpse of the Corolla still parked there, the driver still inside, motionless, headlights glowing in the dark like eyes that never blink. I stayed on the highway, pushing past every speed I normally kept, checking my mirrors for miles until the city lights finally rose ahead of me. The distance from that motel to the city was over 10 hours. They'd followed me the entire time. That meant the man from the motel hadn't just been standing outside. My door by chance, he'd seen me, decided on me, and somehow coordinated with whoever was driving him to track me all day without losing sight. And the way he smiled when he realized I wasn't letting him in like the game had just gotten more interesting. That's what keeps me up at night, because you don't follow someone that far for no reason. And I'll never know what would have happened if that lock had given way. Back in college, I couldn't afford motels. So whenever I made long drives, I slept in my car. I'd keep blankets in the back seat, park wherever it was quiet, and get a few hours before driving again. One winter break, I was heading home to see my family. A cross-country drive in the dead cold of December, days of highway ahead of me. On the second night, I'd been driving for 11 hours straight, my vision starting to blur, the lines on the road bending, the wheel growing heavy in my hands. My body was at that point where you know you're seconds away from nodding off. So I took the next rest stop I could find. It was small, barely lit, with maybe 4 parking spaces in a crooked line. The building in the middle was squat and boxy, vending machines glowing faintly under a metal awning. There was only one other car parked, way in the back, so I chose the farthest spot from it. I killed the engine, stepped out to stretch, and used the restroom, a dim, grimy little space that smelled like wet concrete and mold. When I came back, my chest tightened. A man was standing right outside my driver's side window, leaning in close like he was trying to see what was inside. His breath was fogging the glass. My footsteps must have startled him, because he stepped back with a nervous chuckle and muttered that he was just checking if someone was inside so he could ask for cash for the vending machine. But my car had no tint anyone could see whether I was inside in one glance. He wasn't checking, he was looking. I told him I didn't have cash, brushed past, and got in, but he didn't walk away. He stood there a moment longer, then started making small talk. Where was I headed? Was I traveling alone? I cut him off, said I needed to sleep, And finally, he walked back toward the other car. I tried to shake it off, reclined my seat, and closed my eyes. But minutes later, I felt a faint vibration in the car. I opened them, sat up just enough to look in the mirror, and saw his car had moved, pulling up directly behind mine. No one got out. No headlights. Just sitting there, blocking me in. Something about the stillness made my chest feel tight. I put my seat up, started the engine, and left. I didn't look in the mirror until I was back on the highway. But when I did, there were no headlights behind me. I told myself I'd overreacted. The next stop wasn't for another half hour, and by then I was fighting harder to stay awake. My eyes would close for a second, snap open, close again. The moment I saw the next rest stop, I pulled off without caring where it was. This one looked almost identical, except dead boarded up windows, graffiti on the building, weeds cracking the pavement. No cars. No light beyond the dim glow of a single flickering bulb above the vending machines. It felt too quiet, but I told myself that was better no one to bother me. I locked the doors, pulled my blanket over me, and the second my head hit the seat, I was gone. When I woke, it wasn't gentle. The whole car shook violently, jolting me upright. I heard the sharp shatter of glass behind me, the heavy thunk of something hitting metal, again and again. My breath caught as I turned and saw him standing at my back, window with a metal bat in his hands, swinging again until shards of glass exploded into the cold air. My first thought was to grab my keys, but my hands felt clumsy, my heart hammering so hard it hurt. He came around to the passenger side, raised the bat like he was about to swing at my head, then lowered it and just started tapping against the glass in a slow rhythm. And that's when I saw his face in the glow from the dome light. It was the same man from the first rest stop. Same sunken eyes, same pale skin, but now with a smile stretched too far across his face. He started saying something over and over, low at first, then louder. "Liar," he said it again, and again. Each time he said it, his voice warped a little more, like he was enjoying the sound of it. I didn't know what he thought I'd lied about. I didn't care. I just knew I had to leave before the bat came down on the window next to my head. My hands finally closed around the keys. I turned them, the engine roared, and his smile widened like he'd been waiting for me to do that. He stepped closer, leaned in until his face was inches from the glass, whispered "liar" one more time, and I hit the gas so hard the tires screamed. I didn't check my mirrors. I didn't breathe until I saw lights ahead a gas station, an open one this time. I pulled in, shaking, called 911, and tried to explain what had happened while my voice broke in the middle of sentences. An officer met me there, and when I stepped out, I saw the damaged two windows gone, the back seat littered with glass, dents punched into the doors, my rear tire nearly flat from a deep slash. They sent another unit to the abandoned rest stop, but he was gone, like the place had swallowed him up. I never learned who he was, why he'd followed me from one stop to another, or why he fixated on that word. But that look on his face when he whispered it, like he'd decided I deserved whatever he was about to do, that's the part that hasn't left me. And I know that if I'd hesitated even 30 seconds longer, I wouldn't have made it out of that lot at all.